It's Today in EVE Online, Thursday, February 27th, 2020. I am Matterall. Today we're going to have a little bit of behind the scenes as we prepare for a very big interview with CCP Ratati and CCP Muppet Hunter, two very, very important decision makers in EVE Online in the development process. What direction is the game going? And what can they tell us about now? What can they tell us about the future? We'll find out later today. I'm not sure if that's going to be televised yet. Streamed yet. We're going to decide that a little bit later. If not, it'll be streamed on Sunday per usual scheduling for Talking in Stations. But the interview will be recorded in just about an hour. With me today, my friend Fonsui. How's it going? Is it Fonsui or Fonsui?
So here's the problem. It's a nonsense word. So in my head, it's Fonsui, but in the end, it is what you want it to be.
I like that. It's like song lyrics. You don't want to tell people what it's supposed to be so they can go wherever they want with it.
Right? So the story really is that I was playing a word scramble game with my brother, in which you have to figure out all of the potential combinations of a set of letters given to you, and we could not figure out the last word. And we decided that this was that word. Turns out it was fusion.
Fusion! I think that's the name of my corporation, something Fusion.
So yeah, that's the word that we couldn't figure out, but this is the word that we made up and decided that it.
I love that story. That's a good one. Okay, let's take a quick look at what's going on in EVE Online. And I mean quick, because we're going to make this a short show. And then we'll do some behind-the-scenes preparation work for our interview that's going to happen later today. Real quick, in the last 3 hours, most violent systems, nothing to speak of. A little bit here, a little bit there, and delve in the usual places. So let's go into the 7-day stuff we covered yesterday and the day before that, so we'll leave that alone. It's nothing new going on there. 24 hours, looks like the Forge is back in business with 2,400 ships destroyed in the last 24 hours, and that's in the first position. The second position is Lone Trek with about 1,800. Looks like there's not a lot of major fighting going on in the north. Last 24 hours, we've seen in first position H.A.W.S in Venal, 500 ships destroyed. In the second position is PF-TAC, also in Venal, 200 ships destroyed. Moving on to LowSec. It's Faction War in the Citadel and Blackrise. Those are the areas you're going to see a lot of activity. I don't see anything that's popping up that looks out of the ordinary, except Tama had a pretty big day, like 640 ships destroyed. 230 of those pods destroyed too. That's in the first position for 24 hours. Ships destroyed in the last 24 hours, right? And in high sec space, you basically have the traditional H.A.W.S at H.A.W.S, the actual system, 300 ships destroyed there, 323 actually. That's in 24 hours. That's a pretty good clip. My gosh. If you think about it, that's what, 10 ships an hour? It's every 6 minutes somebody's blowing up in H.A.W.S. It could be people playing around with each other. It could also be actual war decks and that sort of stuff. So we'll see. Information for wormholes and which systems are the most violent is not available and hasn't been for a long time. That was used, it was considered too much information. So they cut that out many years ago. As far as most active systems for NPCs in the last 3 hours, is the top 4 spots are H.A.W.S region, and that's about 20,000 in the first position, 16,500 in the second position, and then the third and fourth position are about 16,000. And in the last 24 hours, it's been a battle between H.A.W.S and Delve, which is no surprise now that we know from the monthly economic report what kind of activity is happening in both those areas. So H.A.W.S and Delve region are fighting for the top 10 spots in the last 24 hours, with H.A.W.S topping the chart at HQTK at 50,000 ships destroyed, NPCs destroyed in the last. I think that's down from. I've seen it get up to like 60,000, so it's a little bit down. And Dell follows at number 2 in system S-TAC-6. 40,000 ships destroyed there. Timer board. There's a big transition of property as people from Dead Coalition switch sides over to Fraternity. I think there's a new group there called Azure that is created by Fraternity to absorb some of these northern powers. Azure will probably be more or less renting and industrial corporations that switch sides, and they'll be grazing in the north in Branch and Tino. That's what's expected, and we've seen a lot of property move from Guardians of the Galaxy, Dead Coalition, aka Guardians of the Galaxies, over to Azure. I think they named it after Microsoft's database program. Okay, as far as big kills, it looks like a Titan went down. Is that a rag? Let's take a look at that real quick. Yep, Ragnarok Titan destroyed from the Brave Collective. Poor Brave. And it was destroyed by... Oh, the Ivana Trading Federation. Ivana are people who they're low-sec pirates. Their choke points are usually in Minmatar space. This looks like it was a dread drop on it. Oh, you also have purple Helm Warriors. And I see Fraternity in there too. Generally, these are basically whale hunters. So they probably caught... This guy looks like he had a bunch of stuff in his cargo, more than usual, so he might have been moving. Total price tag is about 80 billion. And let's check that out because the price for Titans has gone down to like 40 billion. So I think, yeah, here it is. Here's the breakdown. So the Ragnarok itself is worth 60 billion on paper. You can actually get one for about 40. The price may be starting to climb back up now that minerals are projected to get more expensive. It takes a lot of minerals to build a Titan. And the total dropped was only 7 billion. So the majority of this was the ship itself. No valuables in the cargo. Sorry about that, brave guy. Also today, we've seen H.A.W.S lose, looks probably like some ratting Nixes. That's my guess, because they're ratting so much in H.A.W.S. 2 Nixes went down for Triple V. So that's who was there. And that's interesting, because Triple V is actually in the north. They're based out of the north. So if they're ratting in H.A.W.S, then these are alts that are probably put there because it's supposed to be safer. And let's just take a quick look to see who killed them. Oh, interesting. This is Fraternity killing that. Oh, and look at this. Leviathan's involved in that. So I don't know the story here, but I'm going to speculate that you have a Titan here in both of these. Oh, you have several Titans. Okay, so it's a Titan drop on Nyx's. But what is Triple V? They're allies. That's what's weird. So Fraternity killing Triple V. There's both Chinese groups, and Fraternity kills 2 of their Nyxes. I don't know what that... We're going to have to find out what that story is. It doesn't appear to be hostile because I haven't heard anything politically about that. Let's see, about 12 billion in an Asbel. That's kind of interesting. Because these things are... I'm pretty sure they're not worth... 12 billion. They're usually worth how much are Asbel's worth? This is... You guys have any idea how much an Asbel's worth these days? We can check. Pirate destroyed this, so could be a contract kill since those guys are pirate mercenaries. It might have been just a target of opportunity. This was killed in Lone Trek. And this was killed in high sec, so it had to be war. It was probably a war declaration. So this is a a policing action, or the reverse of it, a criminal action by pirate.
Well, out in high sec, H.A.W.S are about $4 on the market.
Yeah, so this one had some stuff in it. If it died for, it's chalked up to 12 billion. Probably had a
Yeah,
lot of
you
something.
can. Well, they may not have had a chance to pull the rigs as is customary for cowards.
To lower their exposure to humiliation.
Yeah, pulling implants and pulling rigs is a common practice when one is about to die to reduce the embarrassment value on Z-Kill.
Yeah, it looks like the rigs are still in there, and that is a total of 7 billion. So that's the majority of the price tag. Yeah.
Tech 2 rigs, especially for structures, end up costing far more than the structure.
Yeah. Well, these were only T1, and it still added up to 7 billion. So crazy. But the structure itself is worth what?
Just 4.
Gosh, yeah, you're right. 3.6. That's the medium size. What is it? Engineering complex. So, yeah. Okay. I think that's pretty much it. So we're going to go ahead and that's the news for today. Oh, no, there is definitely something else.
Well, there's all sorts of stuff going on in patch notes and on Hobo leaks to talk about.
That's right. That's right. I almost forgot that. And then after we talk about this, we'll go into a behind the scenes mode. All right. Any of you guys, Teddy or anyone toxic, you guys are welcome to talk in this at this point. If you guys have any comments or questions.
Sure.
All right. Awesome.
The new Needlejacks are out. They were slated on Hobo leaks to be using fullerenes, which is a reaction from wormhole gas. However, now they're out. They actually use moon goo.
Yep, much easier. It's now 2,000 ISK a piece for the individual items that are used. The total cost for producing them is going to be between 15 and 50 million for each individual filament. The blueprints, the acquisition of these filaments, there's 2 types. There's signal and noise. The signal filaments will take you to high activity systems. The noise filaments are supposedly fully random. They come in 3 sizes: five players, 15 players, and 25 players. The 5-player signal and noise filaments drop from data sites, data exploration hacking sites. And the 15-player filaments are created from the 5-player filaments using blueprints that are purchased with OR loyalty points specifically. The 25-player filaments are produced from the 15-player filaments, again with blueprints. However, these blueprints will only be available on special occasions, events, login rewards, etc.
Got it. I'm sorry for this interruption. I want to go back and correct the record on the Nixes that were destroyed that we were talking about that were curious. We just got some information that, and I'll just read it here. The 2 Triple V Supers died because some Titan pilot in Fraternity pissed off 3V and MSN. Those are 2 allies. And they decided to AWOX him with Supers, and it went wrong. So the attacking Supers were dropped to destroy the Titan pilot, and the situation was reversed on those pilots. So Fraternity ended up killing those 2 Nixes, and then it became a diplomatic issue, and that has been resolved already. So that's the information on why that was such a curious kill. And it's written in Chinese, and we'll get it, Mandarin, sorry, and we'll get it translated to have a look at it, see if there's more details in there. Okay, returning back to patch notes, February 2020. This is the latest iteration at the end of February. We're talking about Needlejack filaments.
So I believe that covers all the details of those filaments. They behave as the reindeer filaments did during the holiday event, and these are their availability.
Great. So another big feature change, and we heard the rumors, and now it's official. High-angle weapons may only be fit to dreadnoughts. And here's a question. It's dreadnought N-A-U-G-H-T-S. That's how I spelled it initially, and somebody corrected me that it's...
This is incorrect. In-game, it's N-O.
Yeah, so I'm not the only one making these spelling
So technically, both spellings of the word are correct in the English language. It originated as an O, not an A. However, by definition, it meant dreadnought, as in fears nothing. So the A is still technically correct in terms of definition.
So interesting. So it means fear nothing?
Yeah, it was the name of a ship, of a British ship.
Oh, wow. Any idea how the knots is that?
Well,
What
naught as in nothing.
Yeah, but what language is that?
Oh no! Oh, the etymology of that word, but
Yeah.
that is English. That was definitely widespread English use at the time. I'm sure it came from Latin at some point or another. That's what it sounds like.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I thought it might be some kind of nautical play on words or something.
Oh no, it's Nought and Na as well. Kind of essentially have effectively the same definition.
So cool. I didn't know that. So dreadnought, fear nothing. So cool. Okay, so high angle weapons, they can only be fit on dreadnoughts. Adjusted high angle weapons and siege module attributes to simplify bonuses. Oh, sorry, adjusted high angle weapons, that's the H.A.W.S, and siege module attributes to simplify the bonuses. Overall damage output for high angle weapons in siege mode will remain consistent with pre-patch levels.
They just changed the behind the scenes math. You're still going to do the same damage. It's just less complicated to do the work in the background now.
Is there an advantage to doing that damage without being in siege mode?
Well, no, you still need siege mode.
Oh,
It's
okay.
just they moved the bonus from one spot to another spot. That's all it means.
I see.
It's everyone does the same damage. You still need to be in siege. No mechanics changes. This is all just don't look behind the curtain stuff.
Right, got it. So, like the bonus damage belongs, let's say this bonus damage belongs to the gun as opposed to the siege module, but it's only activated when the siege module is on. So it's a net result of 0 changes, but they've just adjusted where the actual bonus goes.
Yeah, it will allow them flexibility in terms of future changes that they want to make, or if they want to expand this or tweak it, then this is more flexible and allows them to make those changes without breaking other things.
Yeah. So Teddy, you're a wormhole guy. What does this have any implications for wormhole players?
It's just it's going to help us find more content, I suppose. Although it does mean that then we probably can't get back. But it's good for like the odd sort of like Friday roam.
So, but there's no difference for you guys, right? Because it's not like, because the people who are the losers here are the people who own Titans that could put these weapons on Titans before, and they can no longer do that. So this doesn't affect you, at least.
Oh, for the high angles.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't massively affect. Because obviously you couldn't really get Titans in. So no, it doesn't really affect us at all.
All right. Okay, so those are two, they were highly talked about yesterday. I kind of feel like we're covering old news, and this is not fair because they really just got released this morning. But the news cycle moves so fast in EVE Online. That's why we can bring you new content every day. But I do like to cover it when it's official, and now that it's official, we can see what the actual stats are. Going back to the Needlejacks, the groups that... can you explain the Needlejacks for people that don't know, the Filaments?
These filaments, when activated, will teleport the user and up to a certain amount of players surrounding them within a very short distance, as indicated in the name of the filament, to a random nullsec system or a semi-random nullsec system. The signal, the ones with signal in the name will move you to a random high activity system. The ones with noise in the name will move you to a fully random system. As you see, they move 5, 15, or 25 players. There is no way back. You can carry more filaments and you can jump again, but you are going, and you are either fighting your way back or you are dying. These filaments were initially introduced during the recent holiday event at the end of last year, beginning of this year. They were designed by CCP Signal, which apparently is a coincidence that his name ended up in them. But they showed great popularity. The numbers regarding quantities of kills in all sorts of different player demographics was up pretty much across the board. especially considering that the period of time during which this data sample was taken is traditionally every year a sag in those particular metrics, and this year was a surge. So CCP realized they had lightning in a bottle, and they decided to give it to us in a more permanent form. So they are reserving the large gang filaments, the 25-player filaments, for special events, but they are allowing us to go with 5 players, small gangs, all the time. These things are dropping like candy. And the 15s will cost a little bit more and be more serious because they require or loyalty points in order to purchase.
Well, that's a good point that wasn't made clear, right? The 25-man filaments are going to be distributed through events. So they'll exist after the event's over, but that's when they will drop.
Yeah, and the 15 and the 25s are going to be produced via blueprint copies that take the size beneath them. So the blueprint copies are going to be distributed either during some kind of a login campaign or, in-game event or whatever. However CCP chooses in the future, they can give these out as rewards. But at least for now, they are not going to be permanently in the game. Only the 15s will, and the 5s will drop directly.
That's very interesting. So they're going to control that to kind of make sure it doesn't get out of hand.
Yeah, you'll see 5-man groups everywhere.
One of the criticisms was that a large group that is more into empire building and safe ratting and that sort of game style, they actually have a disadvantage when it comes to fun. They have to travel further away because they have to go out of their city, past the walls, into the wilderness to look for something to hunt. And it becomes very difficult for them to find stuff. It takes them a half hour to get out there. And that means that there's a pressure not to live so deep in secure space. So what you want to do is there's pressure for people to say, I want to have some fun, so I'm going to move closer to the forest. So you move away. So that's a pressure to move away. So my feeling is that these things allow you to teleport essentially from the city out past the wall, past the city.
These filaments will favor the bold. People are going to do exploration, hacking style exploration with this. Mm-hmm. People are going to do PvP roams with this. But in terms of ratting and more specialized farming, I farm these sites or this thing. Mm-hmm. People are not generally going to use these filaments for that. Those activities are about consistency rather than access.
Right. Now, one of the counterpoints to what I was saying was that these filaments sometimes don't go that far, and therefore you end up within your own empire anyway. Like instead of going all the way out
to again.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. Good point. So what you could do is take a group of 15 people and hit a random button. And even if you land in your own system outside the city, but inside the wall, and you want to get to the wilderness, right? Then you use it again, and you're probably going to get out to the forest. So the point is, this moves people who are in a defensive posture. It gives them an advantage in that now they can go find some excitement without giving up any of the benefits of security. And that was one of the criticisms of these things. And that was probably the only criticism, besides the secondary criticism was that people were being kidnapped by these. A player who's working on the market, for instance, or a player that's unaware would get invited to a fleet and he would say, oh, that sounds fun. Let's see what they want to do. And they would hit okay. And as soon as they undocked, they would be teleported off into some remote area. And
I'm filing that under valuable lesson.
Assassinated. Yeah, it probably only happens once. But the point isn't that it happens, because it's probably very rare. And it's neat. It's novel and it's interesting. But the problem with it is now you got a bunch of people inviting you to fleets and you just don't want to deal with that. So there is a way of switching off invitations. So essentially you put a switch on your settings and you can say, anybody who invites me to a fleet, I don't want to see that invitation. Okay, so interesting.
I like that. Shanghai Filaments. That's so great.
Yeah, that's what was going on. If you were in Jita, there was non-stop invitations to fleets to get plucked out and assassinated. Is there anything in the detected fixes that is worth reviewing? Usually those are
Defect
bugs.
fixes. So those, yeah. So the user interface stuff. That was like mildly annoying, but that's so. The very first one under the user interface stuff, fixed issue causing some windows to unexpectedly unstack. This is one of those, like, the ones that you post on Reddit about the game being quote unquote literally unplayable, because it's like, this is such a minor deal and so damned infuriating every single time you log in. Like, I am a small time player compared to a lot of other people. I run 3 Omega accounts. Obviously there's a bunch of alphas lying around, but I run 3 Omegas, are all full, and that means I do 9 skilling sprees a day, 3 at a time. And that amount of logging in and out every day with this bug was absolute misery. So I'm very, very glad that this has been resolved.
Excellent. Sometimes the game defect fixes actually not only improve the game, but they actually change some things. So you really need to look at defect fixes as well as new features. Okay, I haven't read through the defect fixes, but I'll assume there's not other things that are not, very niche fixes.
So you've discussed the official stuff, but there is stuff that is on Hobo right now that is allows us to read a couple of tea leaves in terms of where they're heading.
Mhm.
That I think is interesting, specifically in relation to events and daily stuff. They have added a lot of text strings and such that point at new types of skilling, daily tasks, like kill a rat in a faction warfare complex, or kill a player. Not shoot a player, kill a player. So these are new, and we don't know how they're going to be used. There's also other text strings and in items that have been put in that indicate that the agency is going to be used in a more overarching manner over the course of months or a year for events, and that progress in individual events or events as a whole will be tracked. It looks like they're doubling down on the event system to give us some more dynamic content, which is really very nice.
Yeah. Okay, one other thing that popped up on our radars today. It's not a big deal, but let's have a look at it. So inside of Your Eve Links, and that's a channel inside of Talking in Stations Discord, this is where all news gets posted. And this popped up. It's Plex sale, 15% off Plex. What do you know about this, if anything? Oh, it's 500 Plex or higher. And this is only available till March 3rd. So they're doing this to incentivize or to celebrate Needlejack jump filaments. So I think they want to hit us with a sale, because people might be coming back to play with the filaments. The filaments are very popular. If you heard Bjorn B on Sunday, he was depressed once they pulled the filaments. And so when he heard they were becoming permanent, and there was a lot of pressure to make them permanent from the player base that loved them, and that was a lot of people. Remember, it was across the board. Activity went up.
This has been one. I can't recall another feature that has been as universally regaled as this. And granted, there is some dissent, because there always is and there always will be, and to act like there's not would be disingenuous. But the degree to which this feature has been accepted and loved and demanded back is unprecedented in Eve history, to my knowledge. I don't know. I don't know if you browse Reddit too much, but 404 HD, another Twitch streamer, had posted this like heartfelt message thanking CCP from the bottom of his soul for putting these things back in. Like, it looked like I could see the tears on his keyboard as he typed it.
Yeah, well, I do have a problem with it. I'm in the minority on this one. I don't think they should not exist. I'm glad they're not just available all the time. I'm glad that there will be some availability measures to keep them something a little bit special. The reason is I feel like it is people in this game, and we'll talk about this with Ratati and Muppet Hunter, just people want to play the game like an arcade game. They want to get in here and get some action, get that adrenaline going. And I totally understand that. That's a big part of what's fun about EVE Online is that vampiric PvP and the outplaying other people and outperforming other people in combat. That is a huge part of it. On the other hand, there is a part of me that is like, this is a persistent world. And when you can take small slices of excitement as you need them, then that kind of makes the overall, I don't know what the word would be, the overall wavelength of EVE different. Because now you can command more excitement. You can get to it more instead of working for it, and it becomes easier. It's almost like American sports versus European sports. I'll just say this one thing. Like soccer, there's a lot of going back and forth and back and forth, and nothing happens for minutes, tens of minutes, over an hour. Nothing may happen in the game. But then there is one perfect execution of team coordination, and you have this incredibly exciting moment. And if EVE were kind of like that, where it takes a long time to find somebody, but when you find someone, then all the action hits, all the adrenaline hits. It's very important because it's rare. You don't want to lose it, etc. Then there's more at stake. Whereas American sports, it's just like, let's figure out how we can pack as many exciting moments in the game as possible. So basketball, football, and all that have little micro moments of excitement. So it doesn't feel like especially rewarding when points are actually scored. You were saying, Francois?
So I think that what this does, so as mechanics are added, as concepts are added that create additional opportunities for gameplay or easier opportunities for gameplay that already existed, even if it's not new gameplay, then we're not necessarily, so the question is often asked, what about the X, insert group here, like who's harmed by this change, what is taken away? And it's possible that there are players who are playing within a given content set, i.e. nullsec or whatever that is, because it's the best option that they have right now, but it is still not, quote unquote, the appropriate option for them as a player. So the more options are presented, the more desertion we're going to see of existing play styles, because when there's twice as many play styles as there were, then, and you have the same number of players, then there's half as many people doing everything, obviously with some stacking, for the more popular, less popular. But you're right, this will, quote unquote, damage certain playstyles, as in depopulate them. But I think that is healthy by diversifying it and by allowing people to end up in a pocket that's closer to where they wanted to be than where they are now, that they are simply accepting, because that's how things are.
Yeah. Also, the idea that people play MMOs the way they did 7 years ago has totally changed, in that they're no longer a novelty. The virtual world environment is no longer what it was in 2013. That's when it peaked. Now it has to compete with a lot of social games, especially on mobile devices. And so having people come in and sit at a computer to commune with a world that they live in, quote unquote, is it's harder. I think it's harder to attract people to do that sort of thing when they're living through their phone all the time in virtual worlds, as far as social virtual worlds and stuff like that. Also, the immense pressure from open world games like Skyrim and now Elder Scrolls Online and these kinds of games. I think it's hard to ask people to be a part of a game where nothing happens for long periods of time. So you need to give them some excitement to keep them interested, so they don't just go away thinking that everything's slow and boring, especially at a time when EVE seems to be at a bit of a standstill as far as motivations to fight valuable wars.
So I think that a key element, a key aspect of the current era of this game and how to proceed in framing this for the future is stop saying EVE Online is and start instead saying EVE Online can be. as in, these are the things that it can be for you. These are the things that it can do. These are the things that it could do for all of us in the future. These are the things that it can do today. But as soon as you start saying EVE Online is, when the sentence begins with that, then you're telling someone no. And that, that's where I start having issues. I don't want to tell people no. Maybe yesterday's game was made by a smaller team with a sharper focus, and they had a certain specific set of gameplay styles that they wanted to support. But as evidenced by the insane, massive, spiraling EVE Online career chart that you can look up and everyone knows very well, that has changed. There's much more to do now. There's more to do every day than there was before. We are diversifying, we are adding gameplays, and that is the direction that the game has been going, both organically and pointedly by with direct intervention by the developer for quite some time now. So I'm perfectly okay with yesterday's game no longer existing tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah, super interesting. Teddy, you got anything on that before we close up?
Not a massive amount. I like them. I like the change. The filaments are really fun to use.
How are they used for wormholers? Oh, you come out of your hole and then boom, you just go somewhere.
Yeah, usually we'll just go to Jita, buy battleships, and then just go on.
Can't you use them directly from your wormhole?
You can, yeah.
Oh, no way! So you can come, you can just jump out of your hole?
Yeah,
we can
go to nullsec from anywhere.
Wild. Okay, we have our first arrival. CCP Ratati is arriving for the show that we're going to record in just a few minutes. Yeah, I didn't know that. So that must be great for you guys. And you just jump out, do some searching around. Takes a lot of effort out of. Well, I guess with you guys it's random anyway, right? You find holes all over the place.
Yeah, and as has been said in voice chat, it's also really good as like an emergency out. So if you're in a scanner or a rolling ship, if you have one of these and you need to suddenly if you get rolled out, you can just pop this in your back into case base immediately.
Yeah, there's something to be said for never being stranded in a wormhole again.
Well, now you're taking a job away from the St. Bernards that come looking for you when you're stuck in the snow. And
you mean my people?
Yes, your people.
So
Signal Cartel.
My people will have to make do with people that either do not bring those filaments or cannot use them, capital ships, etc. But I am going to be recommending going forward that rescue caches that we seed, because we don't just come and find you, we actually seed rescue caches. We have usually somewhere between 50 and 75% of all of Anoika seeded with rescue caches, which contain a probe launcher and probes. And if we put these filaments in there as well, then that could be a very powerful option for escape. So this may take away some of our use, but it gives us something entirely different. And whatever is taken away means that whatever remains is much more important.
Wild. I didn't know you guys put rescue. So you guys actually put like. That's great because the imagery.
There are cans. Let me describe for a moment this process. This is a whole alternate game that Johnny Splunk and Co. have designed for hundreds of players that no one else in EVE plays. No one else plays this game, the Rescue Cache game. So the Rescue Cache game is this. You go out in literally any ship you want, and you go out through Anoikis, and you drop a can. And there's a whole art to finding the location to drop this can such that it can be found by using only D-scan and warp bouncing with dropping bookmarks mid-warp between two celestials. So we go around and we practice this maneuver of finding this location where you can drop a can, so that if someone gets lost in that wormhole and they do a D-scan, they see the can with the name, it directs the name directs them to our website. The website has instructions for how to actually then do that and bounce to the can and get to it, or how to contact us. And all of this stuff, all of this knowledge, and this is all tracked. This is all these whoever tends these caches by interacting with them so that the cans don't expire in space and they remain there. And whoever sews the cache, which is the initial placement in an empty system or one that has expired, all of these metrics are recorded, and players are rewarded according to these numbers and recognized. And this is gameplay that no other corporation has. Nobody plays this game but Signal Cartel. So every single one of Signal Cartel's services are entirely free of charge. The three primary corporate activities are what I described: these rescue caches that are usually in 50 to 75% of Anoika systems, uh, the 911 rescue, e-scout, rescue, which will come and find you anywhere from 24 hours to 7 days. I think is like their worst time, but it's usually within a day, and they'll get you out. And the third is Thera-mapping. And there are people who live or have alts who live inside of Thera and will log those alts on. And at all times, you can visit the Eve Scout website and find detailed information about all the connections into and out of Thera at that time. And that data is published in a publicly accessible in-game bookmarks folder as well. Massively. It makes the service accessible to so many more people. The way that Johnny Splunk put it when he posted on Reddit announcing that we were going to be doing this, he titled the post Probe Launcher Now Optional.
I am muted again. I did it again. Sorry. I do that so that you don't hear me typing and getting other information. Right now, we are preparing for a very big show that is going to happen in a few minutes. So you guys are very lucky to be watching Talking in Stations right now, because you might get a special treat in a few minutes. Yeah, and what I asked before, was there a price? And that's what Fonsway was just answering.
Absolutely free.
Yeah. And also, you guys, can you tell me a little bit about, again, this is a corporation called Signal Cartel. They are explorers. They explore, they cluster, and attack no one unless they're attacked. So that's their creed that keeps them rather safe. And they're just really a helpful group of people. But they have also designed some incredible technology for themselves to do the things they do. Can you explain a little bit about the AI?
Yes. So what you're describing is called Allison, which I got to make 100% sure I get this right. Even though it rolls off my tongue, I don't want to get it wrong. It's artificial life form limited in scope to onboard navigation. So this is a web application that uses ESI and was developed by one of our members named H.A.W.S, who is a software developer in real life. And he created this co-pilot system, essentially. That's this web-based SSO application that tracks all of your movements in game, records them, reports them back, and collates all that data. Everyone knows they're participating, by the way. It's very clear. All the transits, like whether you're actively using it to provide data to yourself or not, it's providing data to the corporation. So when someone needs a rescue, we have chains that have been mapped by every single member just simply by playing the game. So it's really very powerful. But for the member usage themselves, it will read them relevant data about the system that they've just entered as they enter it, remind them of things. It does a pre-flight check. It's just truly incredible. And he built in jokes and a radio.
He built in jokes and a radio.
Yeah, like if you leave her alone, like you could turn the jokes off or you could leave them on, and like she'll just like sass you every once in a while.
That is hilarious. I have to see about this Allison. We had a show on her. If you look up on talkinginstations.com, there's a whole show with what's his name? Something Parrot, Dead Parrot.
Yeah.
And Minxie was on that show, and we just talked about Signal Cartel and what they're up to. But it's already over a year old, so it's kind of neat to see that technology and their gameplay develop with some of the mechanics that allow for even more advanced things.
So that system, that navigation system, interfaces directly with the Rescue Cache game. The entire database of rescue caches, their locations, how to get to them, all of this stuff. Because they're all password protected. We get the player to them, and then they have to contact us. And so their password and all this data relating to them is recordable and accessible via Allison.
Wild. All right. We have to have you guys back on to talk about this stuff in more detail. For now, we're going to wrap up with a little bit of behind the scenes. We're just now getting ready for... so I could probably put this up. We're just now getting ready for CCP, Rotati, and Muppet Hunter that are going to be talking with us. These are two critical guys to the direction of EVE Online. And so we're making preparations for that. That'll be broadcast on Sunday. And we're trying to figure out if we can stream it at the same time. If we had a ton of people here, we might consider it. We have 80. So what we'll do is probably leave you in suspense and have the recording play for the first time on Sunday instead of recording it live. But we're going to record it. The podcast group, the listeners, will get it first. And then later it will be released to the visual public via Twitch. Just to give you an idea, if you guys have some questions that, and I can't promise I'll ask any of them, but I'll just give you the descriptions of how we'll try to introduce them here. So Muppet Hunter has spent decades working on games ranging from pen and paper to computer games. He worked on, this is what it's for. I'm inviting you into the process of how we fixed it. So I wrote this late last night, so I got to see if it flows. You guys can tell me if it doesn't. Muppet Hunter has spent decades working on games ranging from pen and paper to computer games. He has worked on trading card games, board games, and role-playing games such as Legend of the Five Rings. I hear that's very popular, by the way. He helped write and direct production. Don't like production there. He helped write and direct. It is production, but... So let's do it that way. He helped write and direct development of... That doesn't make sense either. I'm going to say guide because that's the idea. He helped write and guide the production of Mind's Eye Theater, Vampire the Masquerade, which is interesting because Vampire the Masquerade is based on World of Darkness. So I'm going to bold these so I know where to hit. He moved into video game design. He moved into video games as a design lead for Guild Wars 2 at ArenaNet. Before finding his way to CCP, he is now the design director for EVE Online, concerning himself with features and play styles. A little bit vague. So that, I'll do my best to make that sound natural. The other VIP.
I do love CCP titles. They leave a lot of room.
Yeah, well, yeah. It's like, what do you want to be called? I don't know this.
They are a bit big.
Well, it's, there's two ways to view that. I choose to view it as they leave a lot of room.
So I don't have a Zoom invite.
Oh, that sounds like Muppet Hunters here. Yeah,
Yes,
It
yes.
is.
this is just the warm-up channel. Zoom invite. I'm going to set you up right now. CCP will give you the right title. We'll give you the
Should I-
right access. You're going to see a new
Should I
channel
be
open
in
up.
a? Okay. Should I be in
Yeah.
a different channel?
Yeah, I'm going to move you there in just a second, but
Okay.
let me... how you doing, by the way?
Good. Nice to hear you again.
Nice to hear you. Last time we talked was Las Vegas. Okay, Muppet Hunter. I'm
Always like people who show up early.
yeah, you're on time.
Well, I show up according to the instructions.
Right on time. I just have to fix you up 1 second. Give you the right title. You're the right color now. There. Now you're in yellow. You can say something in... you're going to see... this is going to call to you here. Okay, so there's a channel called Podcast. It's in recording.
Okay. Should I head there?
Well, that's where you're going to type. I'm going to go ahead and put you into a chill channel, and you can relax for a bit, and we'll be around in just a few minutes to get set up.
Okay.
All right, here you go. We are also expecting CCP Rotati to come soon. Okay, sorry, getting a lot of messages at the same time. This is what usually happens before a show, so you know you're now backstage at Talking in Stations. We have a certain process that we do where we get we collect people into one channel. We give them certain permissions. They can see channels that are invisible to the public, so that we can do our private work. And then when we roll the show, we roll from channels where everything is hidden as well. And so that's what the setup process is. It's usually 15 minutes to a half hour before the show starts. Okay, so we're going to now go, because we're getting very close, we're going to not stream this live. Sorry. So we're not going to stream this live, but you will be able to see it Sunday, and the podcast will be out probably in a day or so when we edit it and put it out there. So I want to thank you guys for showing up this morning. We'll see you again tomorrow, and you're going to have some great stuff coming in the next few days. In the meantime, I'm going to leave you with Pando. So go check out what he's doing. I think he's exploring.